With the threat of the Enchantress and the Utgardian gods continuing to weigh heavy on the god of thunder, he'll need to seek some help from other pantheons, that is, if they don't kill him first. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Immortal Thor issue number 13 and find out together, shall we? So then, picking up where the last story left off, Thor has returned to Earth despite the fact that he is still a wanted man framed for murder by the Enchantress, which is pretty bad in and of itself, but making matters worse, the longer Thor is on Earth, the more he is actually affected by the Enchantress's story scald spell. Meaning the longer that the Roxxon Corporation tells Thor's story in a comic book form, the dumber and more cliche he's going to become. Thankfully though, King Thor is not a wanted man everywhere on Earth, and because of that he decides to take a little trip to Greece. It's here the mighty Thor hooks up with an old friend, the mighty Hercules. In fact, the last time we saw him, I'm pretty sure Al Ewing was writing him over in the pages of his Guardians book. Hercules, as always, is good-natured and fun, saying, "Oh really, Thor, you only bothered to look me up when an evil spell is making you dumb? What, do you think I'm an expert on being dumb or something? Well, I mean, I am." In truth, Hercules has actually been paying very close attention to King Thor's battle against Toranos and the Utgardian gods. You'll remember several arcs ago, Thor himself had heard from the ancient thunder god that the wheel is turning. Well, surprise, surprise, Hercules has actually heard this phrase once before from his own father, a god of thunder in his own right who had died only to be resurrected as a darker god, who had foretold to him directly about a new dark age. So yeah, it sounds like Thor and Hercules have actually been dealing with the same problem this whole time, they just didn't know it. Though before Hercules can actually help Thor solve his problem, he's going to need the god of thunder's help in solving an ancient Greek problem. You'll all remember Nyx, the ancient evil goddess of night. She was actually the villain in that very underrated and very awesome Avengers No Road Home series. Well, according to Hercules, she's back now and out for revenge. Why is she only returned now? Well, this is where things get very clever. As you'll know, the last several Marvel events featured at least 2 instances where the world was cast into eternal night. Of course, I'm talking about Bloodhunt and the King in Black. And believe it or not, that really is all it took for the goddess of night to live once again, or as Thor refers to her in the Asgardian tongue, the Unlight. Hercules and Thor better deal with Nixon soon, but they know they can't do it alone. It's right around here that Loki invites themselves to the party. Thor is still pretty mad at Loki for everything that went down with Boulder, but at the same time, they really can't look a gift horse in the mouth right now, and they're going to need some more magical muscle if they ever hope to deal with this problem. Loki also takes this opportunity to poke some gentle fun at Hercules for being on break with his current space boyfriend right now. Hell, even Thor has to take a moment and have pause and realize, oh yeah, he hasn't been dating anyone in this series. In fact, he hasn't been dating anyone in a very long time. Finding the goddess of night is easy enough, as Loki is able to figure what none of the other two could, and that is, hey, where would a goddess of night choose to live? Well, where it's night longer than anywhere, Antarctica. It's on the trip too, Thor asks his sibling if Loki could simply just use their amazing magic to undo the spell that Enchantress had cursed Thor with, only to be met with a very funny answer. And that is because Thor is currently afflicted with story magic, Loki can't just simply undo it because, well, that wouldn't be a satisfying conclusion to the story at all, would it? Our 3 heroes are only in Antarctica for a minute when Nyx ends up coming to meet them. Apparently the goddess of night is even stronger than before when she fought the Avengers. The only reason she hasn't left this place and looked for revenge against all those who wronged her is because she is doing what any mother goddess would do, and that is looking after her handful of children. You'll remember that the gods of sleep, rage, illusion, and despair were her own personal foot soldiers who all ended up meeting their deaths during that last big Avengers story I was talking about. Well, now they're back, which sadly means the good guys are horribly outnumbered. Loki gets grabbed and almost has their throat slit by the 2 evil twins. Hypnos gets into a big knockdown drag-out fight with Hercules. And poor Thor is taking on a walking tour through some of his biggest mistakes due to the god of despair. Thankfully though, Thor isn't really in a depressive spiral right now and is able to fight out of it. In the end though, it's actually Loki who ends up saving the day in a big bad way when the twin embodying illusion accidentally ends up cutting their own twin's throat by mistake. Why? Because you don't go into an illusion fight with the god of mischief. That's like taking a butter knife to a gunfight. Especially when said god is also able to change their shape, in this case once again taking on the Teller of Tales form. We actually haven't seen this character for a hot minute. They're a much more powerful version of Loki, but also a version who has unfinished business with Thor and isn't necessarily a friend. Teller of Tales Loki ends up throwing both Hercules and Thor away from the fight into some sort of deep dark pocket dimension where no light shines. It's while stumbling around in this sunless realm our two heroes actually end up coming face to face with Zeus, who still seems to be very angry and very corrupted from the last big Al Ewing story, meaning that Thor and Hercules just need to add him to the ever-growing list of people who are hankering for an ass-kicking as the comic comes to a close. And so that was Immortal Thor issue number 13, everybody, and oh man, this new arc kicks off in a great way. I've always been a big fan of Marvel's Hercules and always wished he was in more things. Clearly Ewing agrees and is a big fan too, and if you were a fan of that last Guardians run, then you're really going to enjoy this story and how it builds on stuff. Likewise, Avengers No Surrender and No Road Home are probably two of the best modern Avengers stories ever told, so I absolutely love that we get to see the return of Nyx and her children as foes, especially as they tie into this bigger turning of the wheel which seems to affect all of the Pantheons, not just the Asgardians. Beyond that, this issue really had it all: action, comedy, callbacks, deep cuts. Just a winner from start to finish. Here's hoping the rest of the arc can keep up this sort of energy. If so, I think we might end up with an all-timer here. Overall, I would give it a very positive 8.5 out of 10.
Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.